Welcome to Sports Saved My Life. My name is Clayton Freck, and I'm the CEO and founder of Angel City Sports. We know the power of sport to change and in some cases save lives. We hear these compelling stories every day, and we created this show to share them with the world. Enjoy the show, and remember to like, follow, share, and comment. All right, so today I am stoked to interview my friend, 35-year-old adaptive surfer Cameron Clapp, who I've known since 2005 when we first started to learn about the amputee community. Cameron was born in Coopeville, Washington. Did I get that right?
That's correct.
And raised in San Luis Obispo County on the Central Coast, spending formative years in Atascadero and Pismo Beach. He grew up surfing and skateboarding the Central Coast. And at the age of 15, just after 9/11, he was in a train accident that resulted in him becoming a triple amputee. Cameron is a real athlete. He does track, swimming, skiing, kayaking, golf, probably others we're going to hear about today. But hey, once a surfer, always a surfer. Cameron's been surfing since about 2006, which is a long time in this space. There really weren't many surfers back in the day. He's come to the Angel City Games presented by the Hartford a couple times, including our inaugural year in 2015. He's an actor. He's been featured in many TV shows and films, but a couple that I pulled out. My Name is Earl, which is a really funny episode. You got to check that one out, as well as HBO's Carnival. He recently graduated from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo in sociology and is currently a global ambassador and community care coordinator for the Hanger Clinic, another organization near and dear to our hearts. He's probably one of the most well-known amputee advocates and peer visitors in the entire country, especially among the doubles, as we call them, those with double leg amputations. He also supports a wide range of nonprofits, including Camp No Limits, Operation Surf, Challenge Athletes, as well as Angel City. Welcome to the show, Cam.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Clayton. And first of all, I want to really recognize you and all your efforts, your family. I love you guys. Ezra, Bahar, all of you are just great. You guys are so awesome. And I've had such a pleasure of, seeing Ezra develop over the years as an incredible athlete himself. And get to participate in the Angel City Games, which you guys have been, built it from the ground up. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, you were the first year, and it was kind of sparse that first year, but man, it's not sparse anymore. All right. So my first question that I ask everyone: what does it make you think when you hear the title of our show, Sports Saved My Life? Like for you personally, what does it mean?
Well, this is a question I think that really digs deep. You have to go within and find, I think sports is something that is a discovering journey for each individual, depending on what their type of sport that is appealing to them, that they have they're impassioned to do, because each and every one of us, we may have certain interests, and we may have be good at other activities versus others. So it's a very personal thing. Now, for me, sports saved my life. When I think about that, I was thinking about that this morning a little bit, and it truly is, to answer that, you have to go from the heart, and what that means to me is how sports can be a transformative experience for the individual.
That's such a great word. I use that word a lot. I want the games to be a transformational weekend.
Yeah.
Right. For anyone that walks through those doors.
Right.
And I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Who are you in one sentence?
I am a conscious, loving, and kind being. of light. That's what I am.
That was good. I think you must have been ready for that one.
No, I'm telling you, it's like we have all these accolades we can go on. We have all these accomplishments. We have all these things that we try to identify ourselves in this identity as I say, a spiritual being having a human experience. But so, I mean, I could say, yeah, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a triple amputee, right? I'm, whatever job title I might have at the time. So, but I think, if I go really to that core central place, that's what I am.
That's really beautiful. All right. So I like starting at the beginning. I mentioned a little bit about your childhood. Give me a sense of what life was like for you growing up. What was the family structure? Kind of what kind of kid were you? How were you raised?
Okay. Well, I was a kid, just like most, children out there, just very active. I was very outgoing, just exploring. It's all about exploration. And as you get older, you learn a bit about, autonomy and being your own individual and being independent. And growing up, I just had an excellent childhood with such a loving family, kind of the typical, as you'd say, kind of
like what, like the white picket fence?
Yeah. I mean,
together kind of.
Yeah. The nuclear family, right? Lots of brothers and sisters, working parents. And
how many siblings? Walk through your siblings.
Okay. So I have three sisters and like 5 brothers, but, sprinkle in there a few, step family over the years. Cause, when that was probably one of the challenges that I initially had to walk through in life was, parents separating and then.
How old were you when they separated?
I was a teenager in junior high. So I'd say probably, 12, 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you moved, is that when you moved or just San Luis Obispo area, or when did you move down?
So, yeah, I as you described, I was born on the West Coast, but up in the Northwest in Washington State. And then shortly after that, I was 2 years old and we moved to California. So we moved around. We went from Ventura County, and then up to San Luis Obispo County.
And what did your parents do? They both worked, you said, right?
Yeah. My father has always been a corrections, a peace officer as well. And then, my mom has, typically growing with that many siblings, right? And that many children, she was a mother for the most part, but she did a lot, a couple different jobs here and there as a cook, in the restaurant business.
Yeah.
She's an incredible chef, and that's where we all learned our skills from in the kitchen.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And doing like making desserts and stuff for restaurants and different things, working at my stepfather's photography business, and then just growing up in San Luis Obispo, it's been a great town. It's been a great, beautiful, beautiful place to live and a great place to grow up.
Yeah, it is amazing up there. I mean, I grew up in Santa Barbara, not too far from you, and that whole coastline is incredible. It's actually burning right now, the Gaviota Coast. Big fire down there. So praying for, everyone that lives out there on that really beautiful stretch of coast north of Santa Barbara. Okay. You had a lot of siblings. Where were you in the pecking order And
Yeah.
did you have to like fight for dinner to get enough food on your plate? Like the brothers eating all the food? Like what was it like growing up with such it must have been a pretty lively household.
Yeah. One of my fond memories when we were, young is so I said that I have a lot of brothers and sisters and we're super tight. Now my twin brother and I are the youngest of the family. So
Okay. Of all the siblings.
Yeah.
So you're the babies.
Yeah, we're the youngest. So I remember just always looking up and to my brothers and sisters. And we always every night we had dinner together as a family.
Wow.
And there was plenty to eat, and I remember that was something that I cherish is
dinner,
sitting down together as a family, all of us kids and the folks, and just being together, just breaking bread, and kind of up talking about our lives, our day, what's going on with us, the world, and just having that, that love of a family, and just of course indulging in really delicious food, as I said,
courtesy of mom.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about the divorce. I'm the product of a divorce as well.
Yeah.
I was in fourth grade when my parents separated formally, and how did you handle that? So you and Jesse were the youngest siblings. That's not an easy thing for kids going through those preteen years.
Right. I think traditionally, maybe like back in the day, people just toughed it out. Couples toughed it out, and they and they stuck together. I don't necessarily think that's probably the greatest thing for people who are trying to, raise a family, in their own relationship. So when my folks split up, I think that was probably the first adversity that I had to, sort of emotionally and mentally confront as a young human being. And, I don't think I really knew how to cope with that type of situation. And so
did you act out at school? Did it have this sort of effect on you?
Yeah. I mean, it was more rebelliousness in my social life. Cause I mean, I'll tell you what, my twin brother and I were just great kids. We were best friends. We did everything together, and we were good in school, and we were like probably like no exaggeration, the fastest kids in school, and some of the most athletic. Whatever any sport that we applied ourselves to, we would excel at. So
what were you, what sports did you guys play that you were the best at and kind of stuck with?
Baseball, soccer early on. We played football a little bit, and, again, just skateboarding, surfing, now, like track, right? We were so super fast track athletes, long distance, short distance. So that was something like as we were growing up, we had a lot of support from our family, and going to soccer practices and baseball games and different things. And as the divorce kind of transpired, those aspects that were really fundamental in my socialization, that gave me a lot of purpose as a young kid, those things became less interesting. And as I said, kind of the rebellious nature in me turned more to my social life. And I was moving around because of the divorce. And so I expanded my network of young, other rebellious, kids. And yeah, it just became sort of a hooligan.
You just sort of fall in with like the skate punk crowd, or right. What was the sort of circle that you were now kind of, hanging with?
I was friends with everyone, It didn't matter what group, the jocks, the punks, the skaters, the ravers, maybe even some of the nerds, I was cool with everyone. And,
by the way, we didn't have ravers when I was growing up. So that's like a new category. That's a new clique that didn't exist.
I was a raver, dude. I was full on, and that wasn't
the pacifier and everything.
Dude, I had all the candy and the big pants and the neon colors and the trance music. It was super dope.
Wow, that's cool.
It's kind of like a rave skater, surfer kid.
So you after the divorce, you kind of move out of the maybe more sport focused crowd, and now you're kind of connecting to this sort of broader.
But if you had to categorize it, I would say like I was in the party scene. Yeah. So I was partying. I was underage. Drinking and just experimenting with things. And
and what happened to your grades once you started hanging in the party crowd?
They weren't super, they weren't the greatest, but I was passing, I was passing. That was it. Yeah.
And then how soon? So you said maybe you're 12 or so, eighth grade or something like that. How soon after that does your mom remarry? Is your dad still in the area and kind of part of your life as well?
Yeah. I would say, less than a decade later. Pretty much within a few years, both of my folks were already dating and with their partners. And then eventually within, a matter of a couple more years, they were married again to my now, lovely step family that I have.
And you get along, how's the relationship with the step parents and kind of that side of the family?
Great. We're a big family. We love each other. Everyone, talks. I'm in good relations with all of them.
Oh, that's great.
As far as I'm concerned.
Okay. So, all right. So you're in the party scene. You're surviving school, maybe not excelling in school anymore. Have you abandoned sport at this point?
That's a very, a good observation, because yes, I pretty much occupied my time with the social, crowds of my friends that I was partying with. And school and sports really took a back seat.
Gotcha.
They weren't a priority.
So I was going to ask, it's one of my questions, pre-injury, did you get in any trouble? So you did have some run-ins with the law.
Yeah. Pre-injury. I had a couple incidences where, like shoplifting. And I did that one time and never ever did it again because it was just such a ridiculous mistake,
Right.
And it just progressed from there. Most of it involved like being at parties.
Yeah.
With lots of other, adolescent, teenagers.
So like minor possession type things.
Yeah. Alcohol related. Yeah.
Yeah. I got you.
Yep.
All right. So I think 9/11 happens.
Yeah.
And right soon thereafter, you're in your accident. Can you kind of walk me through what happened?
Yeah. My story is 3 days after 9/11 on September 15th and on 2001, 15 years old, had been out to a number of keggers, parties, and was it was such a devastating time for America.
Mm-hmm.
And as a young individual, I didn't necessarily understand or know how to process those things. It was just like, hey, let's go celebrate and drink, or let's go commiserate with each other about this horrific tragedy and drink. So it was, that was just how we.
So before you get to that night, I'm just curious because I think 9/11 it's a little bit like, where were you when Kennedy was shot?
Right.
And I think everyone remembers where they were, what happened, what they were feeling. I was on my honeymoon in Hawaii. Now I'm an adult. I'm, 30 years old ish. But you're just a kid, 15, seeing what you saw. Talk to me about where you were and just what was what were the emotions going through a 15-year-old? Because that's trauma for all of us, but for 15.
Yeah. Incidentally, I was in the back at the time. I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment, again, with like 5 or 6 brothers and sisters. So we were just stacked up on top of each other. and so we were in the truck going to school. And so we were all like piled in there, and some of us had to get in the back of the truck, and we kind of like, and then somewhere in front of the truck, and with our, one of our parents driving us to school.
That's a great image.
Yeah. But we were all together, and we just loved each other, and it didn't matter, that we were all just, had to be living together in such tight quarters. And,
right.
So looking back, we were all in this truck on our way to school, and we heard the news,
like on the radio,
on
right?
The radio, on the radio. Yeah. And we were just, I think we were just shocked, we didn't. And then pretty much like we all had, been sent home after that. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And honestly, after my injuries, I don't have the clearest of memories because I think, I'll get into that. But when you go through a lot of trauma, I think it's kind of a self-defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
You block a lot of your memories out just to kind of protect yourself.
Yeah.
That trauma you had to experience.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. So you're out hitting keggers that night.
Yeah. Doing
15
keg stands and,
children listening to the show, don't do this.
Don't do this at home. No. But we all have to, make our own decisions and learn from our own lessons. And life has, incredible teachings for each and every one of us, in how we respond. And I think that, it's not what happens, it's what you do about it. Mm-hmm. And so that fateful night, I mean, look, this was a tragedy. And I look at it as this tragedy on a global scale, especially here where the 9/11 attacks occurred in the United States. And so more on the, macrocosm, there was a massive trauma for the planet. And then here, alone in my own little, microcosm in my life experience, I had my own pretty traumatic, tragedy. So, I can't say that there's been a lot of good that has come out of 9/11, Mm-hmm. But I do know that my tragedy, I've turned that around, and there has been so much hope. And along the way, this just incredible process of human development, spiritual advancement, and growth. It served as a catalyst for growth in so many aspects, mentally, emotionally, mind, body, spirit, all these things that have translated into my life and been an incredible experience.
So I'm really, because I've known you for a long time, and the kid that got run over by the train, and I want you to just help our audience understand what went down that night, and the recovery process, and all the stuff you're starting to sort of put together.
Yeah.
But before we go there, I can't even imagine. I mean, I can, but like, you're so different than that party kid.
Yeah.
And so if this hadn't happened to you, where does that kid end up?
I if I can be direct, and honest, I may have just ended up, eventually, dying, possibly from, just because I know this, and I think that, God bless his soul. My twin brother passed away. Mm-hmm. And from that, that type of lifestyle, right? If I had to really just kind of compress it down to,
how old was he?
21. Yeah.
20. I mean, that's just,
too
young by 60 years, 70 years. I mean, it's,
yeah.
So
that was the path that I could have been on myself. And I have so much gratitude, mm-hmm. For my brother, and I can get into that, what that means for me. But I know right now we're talking about what happened that particular night, of my, I call it my metamorphosis. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that is likely what path I was on. Mm-hmm. I mean, shoot, I literally died that night, like there was, they had announced that, they'd given my parents in the hospital my last rites,
really
somehow pulled through. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So,
I didn't know that.
Right. So, okay. Clayton, do you want to, is there any follow-up questions, or do you just want me to kind of jump into the event itself?
Yeah, let's just go into the event. I mean, I think this is a good time to just let any parents, that might have little kids in the car, it might be a, time to sort of fast forward, I think you're gonna get to a lot of powerful positives that Cameron's already alluding to. But this is probably a pretty tough thing for younger ears to hear. But yeah, let's go through the night and then
Yeah.
the metamorphosis, right? I want to hear that.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're absolutely right. This type of event it's really difficult to even understand. Especially for young kids, like, and even for me to this day, it's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable that something like that could possibly happen to me, let alone anybody. But then when you're talking about yourself, like how in the world something like that happened to me, right? And it's still to this day, it's unbelievable. However, I've come to grips with my reality, and I feel like I'm in a place, of acceptance and truly contentment, with myself. I love myself and my life today. But that certainly wasn't, that took many, many stages in a process that I call it, so going back to that night, getting home from, a number of parties, drinking heavily, just pretty self-destructive, and I put myself in harm's way unintentionally, I had lived in across the street from the railroad tracks that go through this it's the closest street to the beach. So you have the train tracks, and then there's like a few trails that head to the ocean. And it was pretty gnarly what happened. I had went outside, and there was a flag and a spotlight and a shrine of candles for the people who had died. Pretty patriotic, and just a tribute to those people and the loss for these families that is, and we were honoring those people. And so I was just looking at this memorial, and that's the last thing I remember. I was, I'm sure, like everyone, I was feeling, I didn't know how to feel about it, but I was, I had a lot of pain and suffering around that, and of course I had no idea at all that what it was going to happen next. And I don't remember this, but I was there. I didn't see or hear a train, and it was right there. And I was in no conscious state to get myself off the train tracks. So it hit me, and I believe it took off my legs above the knee, on my right leg and left leg. And then somehow my body flipped and got caught under the wheels of the train, and got ripped off. And so the train had stopped eventually. And so I was under the train, and my twin brother was inside with a couple of my neighbors' friends. And they pretty much immediately, the conductor of the train called emergency. We need help. We think we've hit somebody. And the fire station was down the road. they got there. And as soon as the emergency vehicles responded, I think my family and friends inside, knew that where's Cameron? Something bad must have happened. And then thankfully, the firefighters pulled me out. They applied tourniquets. The ambulance and EMTs rushed me right up the road to the hospital. So everything happened so fast, and the response so fast, and getting me the medical attention I needed rapidly.
Yeah.
There were so many moments that contributed to my survival, but the bottom line is that it was a miracle.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't, if I had to summarize it, I just had my 20-year anniversary, right? My alive day of 20 years, just last month. And what an experience this has been. And if I had to summarize it, I could say that, that moment, even though I wasn't aware, eventually I realized that, it wasn't my time. And I still had, a lot
something else to do.
I had a lot more to do here on this planet.
I'd like to take a quick break to show you how you can get involved as a volunteer with Angel City Sports.
Are you interested in supporting Angel City Sports? We're seeking volunteers to help organize clinics and events, as well as support our athlete outreach efforts, marketing and media, and even fundraising and development. All skill sets and backgrounds are welcome in support of our mission to provide free adaptive sport opportunities for children, adults, and veterans with physical disabilities or visual impairments. For our younger athletes, we welcome you to join the Angel City Youth Leadership Council. Middle and high school age students are eligible to join the Youth Leadership Council, where you will learn about the disabled community by working side by side with our athletes and acquire important skills such as teamwork, leadership, philanthropy, and event management. To sign up for our volunteer newsletter and stay up to date on all upcoming opportunities, visit angelcitysports.org.
When did you, I mean, it sounds like the memory is limited that night, but when did you sort of wake up and realize what had happened? Was it days later, weeks later? Were you in a coma? Like what was the hospital journey like?
Good question. I woke up in the hospital, I think 3 days later. And I was in a drug-induced coma. So when I did wake up, I was actually, my family was relieved because of course, as my arm and my legs were amputated, but additionally, I had on my head here and the back of my head, I had staples in. So they didn't know if I had like severe brain trauma, some kind of TBI, and they didn't know how I was gonna, cognitively, if I was okay. Mm-hmm. So when I woke up, and I was actually I was joking around.
Really?
I was like, where are my brothers at? And I was like making fun of them. I was like, oh, they're probably getting freaking cookies or I think I don't remember in what order, but I asked, I was like, did we get that bastard Osama bin Laden yet?
Dude.
Yeah. So excuse my language, but I was pretty passionate about, what was going on and whether or not we got the perpetrator of the attacks. So,
wow.
Yeah. So, and then when they realized hey, I'm just Cameron, they were so relieved. And then I think the next thing I did was I did one of these where I looked down and I'm like, Thank God, I still got my parts, intact. So I was okay,
Wow.
metaphorically, and also just, cognitively, I was just being kind of immediately just, I don't know what it was like, even though I do not remember anything about getting hit by a train.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And, but somehow in my, hospital, and being in a sedated sort of like coma, throughout all that, somehow I think I came to that because I didn't have like one of those white light experiences,
Right.
I just woke up and I was in the hospital. But I think somehow consciously I knew what had happened. So when I woke up, I wasn't freaking out. Like, yeah, I looked down, my feet, my arm aren't there and stuff, but I immediately like was real, recognizing what's going on and just grateful that my family was there, and yeah. But then of course, shortly after that reality, hit me straight on.
We'll talk about that because I think, we're all in this community. We're all on our own journey, and disability strikes us in different times of our lives. For me as a parent, there was like a moment where we were really not sure what to do. Didn't know the community well. So at the time, did you know anything about, did you know amputees? Did you know anything about prosthetics? Did you have any sense of what your life was going to be like?
No, my whole world was turned upside down. We had no experience with anything in the limb loss, indifference community, we had no reference to prosthetics at all.
Right.
So it was pretty much just learning by doing. And, that again, that kind of discovery of doing the research and then really, thankfully, that was what changed everything for me is, the support system that I discovered, really immediately after my injuries.
So I want to hear about the support system, but how long are you in the hospital and where is your mentality
right
by the time you leave the hospital?
I think I was in a pretty good state. I don't think that I was put on this planet with any, intrinsic, like level of fear. I think I was really have the contrary, like fearlessness that has been, like woven into the fabric of the makeup of myself.
So you weren't worried or scared about the journey. You didn't maybe know it, but you weren't intimidated by what was coming.
No. I mean, I just always was like, okay, where am I going? Like, yeah, I needed direction. I needed instruction is what I eventually would find that. But I mean, yes, it is like an unknown, which, everyone experiences at some point in time, uncertainty, and really like, and that itself gave me, moments of depression. But I mean, I think I cried, and it's important to walk through these emotions and feel them and process. And I remember crying a couple times,
in the hospital or after the hospital?
After the hospital. Yeah. And because I was just so confused, like, I had at that point, I didn't have the support to lean on, except for the love of my family, and so, there's, And so I was in the hospital for really a short time. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks locally, and then transferred down to LA to Children's Hospital. And then after that, I was sent home.
Hmm.
And then it was just like, I was at home, and wow, that was a reality check, on just such a shift of my existence, and what was going on in my life.
Oh, that's really interesting. So while you're in the hospital, you're in this sort of new world that's catering to your daily needs. You're comfortable, you're still recovering, but when you get home, now you have something to compare it to because it's home. You were there 3 weeks prior, right? As an able-bodied kid, and now, right, you're a triple amp.
Yeah.
And
yes.
So you mentioned the support system that arrives for you, or you found, give me the, follow the breadcrumbs for me. What's that first thing that kind of gets you moving in the right direction? And then kind of how does that support system unfold for you?
Yeah, my family was very proactive, and they were doing research. We actually went to a local, I think something really initiated that spark of, possibility. Was they knew me as a very determined individual. This is just part of my story. Some people may be able to relate to it. I went to a local prosthetic clinic, just a, mom and pop. And they essentially told my folks I would never walk again.
Whoa.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. They're like, okay, maybe, special occasions, wedding day, graduation day. But, get a good wheelchair because your son is going to be, living life in a wheelchair.
So they had never served or seen a double above knee amp. Is that right?
So, no. And here's a little bit of what you can understand is with Challenge Athletes Foundation. So Rudy Garcia was on a magazine, right? And my mom is like, well, what about this guy right here? And so, I guess the response was, oh yeah, Rudy, he's 1 in a million.
Really?
Yeah. So, and eventually I would meet him because of this support system that I'd love to talk about.
Yeah.
And I got to meet Rudy, and he's such a great kid, at the time, and a great human being. And, and really inspired me a lot, and showed me what was possible. And I in turn have done that for countless other people. So it is kind of this amazing thing of, passing on and being of service to others.
For sure.
I'll get into that because
your parents they do some research and they found this picture of Rudy, and so your mom.
So that catapult, that whole initial judgmental sort of holding me in contempt of what I'm capable of, that really spurred them into doing the research, because they're like, wait, what? Here's this kid doing it. Yeah. I know my son is an amazing, determined person that can do anything.
Yeah. And so in a weird way,
that was unacceptable. And so they were determined themselves to find other other options that were. So then eventually we found Hanger Clinic to kind of fast forward, and Hanger Clinic, they really were, solution oriented and focused on, getting together with a team that did have experience working with, high level sort of multiple limb amputees that are more complicated, and then looking at, the possibilities.
Yeah. So in a weird way, it was kind of good that you got turned down by that first one, because then it stimulates all of this extra research and problem solving within your family and your community.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so Hanger sounds important to your journey. And did you find them before you found Adaptive Sports and the Challenge Athletes Foundation and kind of the community, the broader community?
Yeah. So in a sequence of events and resources, Hanger Clinic was the first opportunity that led to other great opportunities and experiences, because that was so fundamental in my recovery, right? And so, the team that I got to become a member of, of course, kind of myself at the center, and this amazing learning process of stages in my rehabilitation, because I was, I had to learn how to adapt, as a triple amputee now. So the core was the team that I now was co-creating my life together with this team of prosthetic experts. So I want to explain how instrumental that was for me, because over the course of time, it revolutionized my life experience. Okay. And it started out as a lot of, process and trial and error and things, but this is what, it's the full package, right? So you have the team of prosthetic experts that have experience with multiple limb amputees. Of course, Hanger being a large company, they have resources, they can contact a lot of people, and so Kevin Carroll was somebody that I met straight away that became such a mentor to me. As Kevin Carroll, and he's like an angel himself, and he's kind of one of the renowned prosthetic clinicians in the field of O&P.
For sure. So
we just love him to death, and he helped really he was a big part of, and still is today in my life. So you have this core team of specialists, and then you have a protocol of training, right? And using your prosthetic devices, and incorporating those in your life. And then, sometimes that consists of physical and occupational therapists and other people, aspects of your team. And then also the prosthetic technology, right? And so I went through stages of different types of prosthetic legs and arms, later on. And then I think it's really important to share about peer support, right?
Yeah.
That's the peer support. Like I said, eventually I met the kid on the magazine, right? Rudy Garcia. And I met you guys too. And I met so many others in the journey that really collectively were so motivational. And of course, in, those interpersonal and interactions that I had with other people in this community really inspired me and showed me that there is life to live.
Cameron, unlike everyone else, you have taken this idea of being a peer mentor, peer supporter to a whole nother level, because, everyone knows you. You're connected to everyone. So you've done an amazing job, in my mind, paying it forward and being there for just so many people behind you. So I know people in the community would echo my thoughts. I think we're all just really grateful for you and what you do. Give me this. How long did it take you to take your first steps, not on stubbies, but on, full blown, prosthetic legs? Was that a year process, a couple years? Like, how long did it take after your accident to get you walking?
Yeah. So as I was great. As I was describing, you have this sort of protocol, right? And with that really contributed to my independence and my functionality with prosthetics. And again, like going from like for me, stubbies are these little, literally platforms that go on the bottom of your socket. And then, you don't wear any knees at all. Like your center of gravity is low to the ground. If it's easy to, it's great learning to fall and getting back up, getting your balance, getting your endurance, all these things, and then graduating to full length legs. So I just wanted to kind of give some context there for people that are watching, because a baby crawls before it walks, right? And if you're learning how to walk all over again,
so for you, it's stubbies before the legs came.
Yeah, it's like having training wheels on a bicycle,
right?
And then you got to use those. You do the training, and once you practice enough, you take them off, and you have this whole new sense of freedom, right?
Yeah.
But it's a lot of hard work in between. So, and so along that path, and I think being a super, really the determination, the commitment that you have to have, right? With that support system that we talk about, amazing things can happen. And so for me, to answer your question directly, 2 years. It took me 2 years, and it was actually in San Diego at the triathlon, where I was talking with Kevin, and I had this epiphany and realization. And I told him, I said, you know what? It's taken me this time with my arm, with my prosthetic legs, and now 2 years into this recovery process, I now feel like I'm walking naturally with confidence. And I'm not having to think about every step I take. Yeah. I can just get along my day and doing these daily activities and just be in that each moment, not being self-conscious, not, being insecure, right? But confident in myself and my physical ability, utilizing prosthetics. And then it goes into sports from here, right?
So it's amazing. I thank you for giving our listeners a sense of how long it takes and how hard this is. And obviously the arm made it even harder. But before we move into sports, give me this one last thought, which is, little punk rock surf skate kid gets into an accident, loses a limb or two or three, similar situation to you, 15, young, whole life ahead of them. What are you telling that kid? You got 30 seconds in the elevator. What are you telling that kid?
I'd say believe in yourself. You're valuable. You have value and worthiness as a human being. And you may feel that right now, going through this extreme adversity is insurmountable and maybe impossible to overcome or to endure the pain and suffering you're going through.
Yeah.
But if you just, be encouraged, stay the course, keep inspired, surround yourself with a great support system, and never give up on yourself, you'll get through it, and you'll be able to experience a life worth living, and a life that living that life to the fullest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. So speaking of living life to the fullest, I think part of your story is just your journey in sport. I mean, I followed your journey for the last 16 years, essentially, and you're always doing something new. Talk to me about all the sports, give me the list of all the sports that you've done over the years. What are you more passionate about? What gives you the most joy?
Oh, wow. I mean, each and every one of the activities gives me joyousness and, this feeling of aliveness. They all have that. That's how they relate, and so it's hard to, I think that running, so let me just answer it like this. Running was probably the hardest thing that I've ever learned how to do. So it does have, and I've always said that the more challenging, right? Say a life situation you're going through, the more challenging the experience, right? The more glorious the reward. And so running does have that special place in my heart, that it is truly remarkable. I remember my first time running, I was with, at the Endeavor. So the Endeavor Games, was, the first thing I ever did in terms of sports, after my injuries. And so 2001 accident, metamorphosis, and then the team, the support, starting my recovery. And then shortly after that, because of that, believing in me and pushing me, and then all these amazing resources that we have, I went to the Endeavor Games in 2002, like it was like 9 months after my accident.
Wow.
So I was like learning how, I was on this way learning how to walk, but then I also tried running for my first time on the track with a coach who had a Paralympic athlete and medalist in the past, and Thomas Bourgeois. And he was right there by my side while I, took a few strides and stumbled, and then from there, like today I've run, 4 half marathons, and I've competed, at the track and the Paralympic trials for track and field, in 2015. In Indianapolis. I didn't get last place, but I got my butt kicked. And I can, and I can say like, but I have so much love and respect for those athletes who went on to represent this country,
For sure.
They've worked so hard to get there. And I honor that, So, but I've put a lot of hard work in sports myself. And I think that is part of the reason why it is so gratifying, why I have so much gratitude for how sports has changed my life. Cause it's contributed so much to that living life to the fullest for me.
Well, and it makes sense too, because you were an athlete growing up. You were a really active kid, fearless kid by your own, using your own words. And so unlocking that again as an adaptive athlete is so important, right? I mean, I think we share this passion for helping people get into these sports, whatever it is, doesn't matter. what it is.
Right.
You know, it doesn't matter if you go to the Paralympics, but like everybody has the same right to play, to feel like they're alive, to your point, you know, and it's beautiful. It's a great story. Okay. Before we move into the final sort of soul searching section of the show, are there any sport related goals that you've got on the horizon? Are you going to do another marathon or a track marathon? Is there some sort of goal that you're looking at in the future?
I have to say that, yes, there are some goals. I just actually can check off one of those goals. For the longest time, I've been wanting to surf at the ranch, which is a legendary spot, which you know of because you grew up in Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
So it's just north of Gaviota, and it's, on this private land. And the only way you can get to it is if you know somebody who has property out there.
So you finally got to the ranch.
I got to the ranch we launched a boat, and it was so ironically, right? And just fortuitous, like divine synchronicity. This is what happens in life. And you're the blessings, you're on the right track, and you got to keep just pushing and keep going, and pushing yourself to the limits. And along the way, you get these little amazing experiences. And so it happened to be on my Alive Day, my 20-year milestone.
Do you have photos?
I do, yeah.
All right, you got to send them.
I have a video. Well, I have a video I can send.
That's fine. Whatever. Send us whatever you got. We'll layer it into the YouTube version.
Okay. I'll send you the video. So was something I can check that off. But I think I would love to just like I experienced with going to the Paralympic trials for track and field, and I put my all my effort and my strength into that. And it's like, okay, I'm not the world's fastest, and there's a lot of other intricacies that I won't get into, but, I'd like to see how far I can take surfing,
All right, we gotta have an offline conversation about surfing, because I'm back in the water after 15 years and surfing a lot, and so we need to figure that out.
So that's a goal.
Let's surf the world. Okay, so the final section is our soul searching section, and it's rapid fire, just whatever jumps to mind, quick. What's a fun or interesting fact that I don't know about you?
Oh, okay. A fun, the improv. Oh man.
It could be silly, whatever.
Yeah, I know, right?
Favorite color? You're allergic to peanut butter, but you love birds.
I love to DJ, and I DJ at kind of local festivals and things like that.
Oh, I didn't know that. So I'm going to loop you into some of the things that we do with Angel City. We're always looking for musicians. Okay, what one word? What's your disability taught you?
Oh man, resiliency. If I had to summarize in one word, I would say perseverance and resiliency.
That's 2 words, but I'll give it to you. They're okay, good.
Yeah. Well, I think perseverance leads to resiliency. So they go together.
They're hand in hand.
Right.
Says the one-handed man. What have you
one hand clapping? Yes.
What have you learned from your mistakes?
Don't beat yourself up. We can all have self-pity. We are all our own worst self-critics, right? But I think mistakes are a great teacher in teachings of love and forgiveness. And it's hardest to have forgiveness for ourselves. So gotcha. I think in mistakes, that also sort of translates into acceptance, is, when we're going through, say, some kind of traumatic thing, that can also be sort of like an identity crisis because things change. But
For
just
sure.
to know, just to keep the faith, right? And whether it's a mistake you had or you're going through some trauma, just give yourself, some love and compassion, right? And
That's all we can do, right? All right. I think this will be my last one. What brings you stress?
What brings me stress? Well, currently the state of the world, a lot of stress is and pressure to conform to the society's norms of what's going on with, I won't get political, but COVID has been an extreme source for not just me, but it affects so many aspects of our lives, the pandemic and COVID, that it is extremely stressful. And so you just have to be mindful and do self-care, because otherwise it will drive you crazy.
For sure.
Like I'm taking crazy pills, man.
Okay. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to wrap the show up. Anything you want to throw out there, anything you feel like you missed, key message, go.
Oh man. I feel like I've said so much that, I'm just going to be repeating myself, you know what I mean? Wow. Yeah. I really said it all,
All right. That's cool. What's the best place for people to follow your journey? Social, website, whatever. What's the best place?
Yeah. So there's a number of, you can just look me up if you want to know more about me. Social media, /Cameron Clapp, CAMERON, Clapp, CLAPP, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, just /Cameron Clapp. And then, One Arm Between Us is is Hanger Clinic's YouTube channel and our show that we do to just provide support to the community of limb loss and limb difference. So it's One Arm Between Us.
It's beautiful. Follow Cameron's journey. He's always doing cool things out there in the world. So listen, Cameron, it's been a true honor to dig deep into your story. I love your sort of philosophical approach to life. I love all the learnings that you've had and the metamorphosis, as you call it. And I know that a lot of people out there need to hear your message of resilience and perseverance, to your point. So just from the bottom of my heart, thanks for being on the show. Thanks for being you and all that you do for the community. And, hopefully I'll see you soon out in the water.
Yeah. Well, it's been excellent to be on the show. And for all of you out there, the viewers, check out Angel City Games and the really transformative experience that they provide. Anybody that's just introducing into sports or has been into sports for a long time, come out and check it out. It's an excellent event. And Clayton, on a personal note, I look forward to getting in the water with you sometime.
Let's do it. All right.